So I had done after that. So you go to downloads and you can see the emulator over here. So what I did is basically just copied it and I created a directory called Netezza underscore emulator and I put it over here. Okay, and then I had opened my virtual machine, the VMware workstation, and then this is already added here. So let me tell you what you need to do is the first time when you go to open a virtual machine, and then this is going to you open the virtual machine and then you go to the directory and add that into it. Okay, you follow all the defaults and then it's going to get added. Now once this is added, there are certain things that you need to do. So when you are configuring it, you just go to the edit virtual machine settings, and I'm giving a 16 GB RAM for the emulator. If you are having a 16 GB machine, you can give an 8 GB RAM. That should suffice. Also, go to the processors, select 4 processors, and make sure the virtualize Intel VT is enabled. The network adapter should show NAT. Okay, so these are all the things that you need to do. And then once you have imported the machine, you simply play the virtual machine. So it is starting. Now, as I told you, the Netezza appliance basically has a Netezza host, which actually is a Linux machine. So they have some OS accounts. So the first OS account is root, the password is Netezza, and then all the Netezza related files are owned by the OS account called NZ, whose password is NZ. So when we log on to the emulator, we will log in as NZ user ID. So this is going to take a little bit of time to load. Okay, I'm gonna give NZ, password is NZ. Now the first thing you need to note here is the current IP address. Okay, now this is the IP address with which you are going to communicate to this emulator from the outside world. So if you have any tools, it could be R Studio, you're going to communicate to this box, the emulator, with this IP. Okay, now a little bit about the Netezza. So if you recall, we had downloaded the admin client. So if you go to the admin client, you will see there is a documentation folder as well. So feel free to read the documentation about basic Netezza database administration and other things. Let me show you something real quick. If you want to go to the Netezza database prompt, you say nzsql. Okay. Now what happens is by default you get connected to the system database and with a database ID called admin. Now Netezza has a concept of database ID as well, and if you want to list all the databases in the emulator, this is how you see. So you see there are two databases, system database and test database. Okay, I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to go through all the details about the database and administration stuff. Feel free to read the documents and you will be able to follow what's going on. Okay, if you want to quit out of here, you say quit, and if you want to see what level of Netezza is installed, nzrev. So you see we have 7.2.1.0. Now if you want to quit out of this emulator but not stop it, just say press Control and Alt at the same time. You get your mouse prompt back, and let's do one thing. Now we had installed the tool, right, the admin tool. So let's go to the admin tool, and here's the documentation I was talking about. Okay, so let's open the Netezza emulator. Okay, so now let's give the host name, which is the IP address of the emulator, 192.168.121.128. The database user ID is admin, Okay, its password is password, the defaults, and let's say okay. Here it is. So we have connected to the Netezza emulator through our administration tool. So now if you go to the system, you will see all the system things, right? So you will see that this is the IP address of the NPS. Okay, it has the SPA means snippet processing arrays. It has one SPA array. There is a single SPU. So the and the emulator comes with one SPU, but in a production appliances usually have like 7, 14, 21 SPUs and so forth. Okay, data slices that are there, and you can look at all the other things. So feel free to play around with this. If you go to the database tab, you see that there's a test database. Let's double click that. These are the schemas and so forth. Okay, so this is just excuse me. This is just to show you how you can use the administration tool to just glance around what's going on in the database. And now we are done with the emulator installation. Okay, so a funny thing has happened. I swear that the emulator that I had downloaded had NZ Analytics there, but it looks like it does not. So what we need to do is we will need to separately install the NZ Analytics, and I'm gonna show you how. So what you do is, again, you go to the Fixpack Central, which is www.933.ibm.com/support/fixcentral. Okay, and in the product group you will say information management, and uh, you will, over here where it says select from information management, you will say IBM Netezza applications, and the install version will be Analytics 3.2. So let's platform will be Linux, and let's continue. Browse for fixes, continue, and let's get this latest one. The fix central application is ordering the fixes for you. Okay, so when you select that particular pack, it's gonna get you into a screen where you will put your IBM user ID and password. You will come to over here. So we are looking for analytics underscore t.2 Linux. Okay, and I'm using my browser, and I'll say continue.